Hello, Nicole.
Hi, Franny.
Oh, there she is. There's podcast Nicole.
Yeah, here I am.
Well, do you want to just sit here and look at our phones together?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what we're doing today. So, today on the podcast, we are going to answer some questions that were submitted in an Ask Me Anything box on Instagram. Hundreds of responses.
Hundreds.
Just kidding. But there was a few good ones.
Yeah.
So, let's just kick it off.
Okay, great. Do you want to start?
Because they're all over the place.
They are.
They're very, yeah. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? I think we should just take turns asking each other. Let's do that.
Okay.
You ask me one and then I'll ask you one. This will be fun.
Oh, shoot. What one do I start with?
Whichever one you don't want to answer.
Ooh. Okay, let's just, how about this? What books and podcasts are you listening to right now?
Ooh. Well, this is a little meta since we're sitting in the Dream Studios ConvertKit podcast room. But I have really been enjoying listening to Nathan Barry's podcast, $1 Billion Creator. And he has some really cool conversations and some great guests. I really enjoyed his recent episode with Barrett Brooks, who is his former COO, I believe. And they had a really cool conversation just like about what it kind of looked like on the inner workings of ConvertKit back when they were building it a few years ago and when it was really scaling and in this growth period, which is where I feel like we kind of are. Like, you know, we're not on the same level as ConvertKit, obviously, but we're in this time of growth and building a team and
They call it the messy middle.
We're in the messy middle 15 years later.
Does it feel like that? Does it feel like the messy middle? Is that inappropriate?
It always feels like the messy middle. And I will pull out like my favorite quote ever right now from Jennifer DeRoyne, our EOS person, who said, "It'll all be okay in the end. If it's not okay, then it's not the end." Remember when she said that?
Yes.
And I like started crying. It's like the one time she's gotten me to cry. I was like, that is so freaking awesome. And as far as books go, let me just like open up Audible because I've been kind of like swapping between some books.
I know. I feel like I
know.
I've been all over the place.
I told you about this and you need to read it. I'm reading Gary Vee's new book.
Oh.
And I like listening to him just because he has a good voice. But it's called Day Trading Attention. And I feel like it's basically the new updated version of Jab, 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 Right Hook, or even what was this other one that oldie but a goodie, like from forever ago. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it's basically like he's always talking about what's working to get attention and to get, you know, seen and found on social media. And he's really big on social media, obviously. But this book is really timeless, but current. So I think all of his books are pretty timeless, but they're written about like the social media landscape at the time of writing the book.
Yeah.
So the old ones, even though they're still relevant, it's hard to read them when he's like talking about Google AdWords and like things that aren't really as effective anymore, even though the principles are still effective. So this is like he's just bringing it into 2024 and talking about what's really working right now, and a lot of really great examples of creators and brands that have gone viral and like breaking down why. And, you know, he opens up the book telling the story of the dog face guy with the cranberry juice on the skateboard and like how much impact that had.
Did you know he lives in Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Twin Falls or something, or one of the falls.
So random.
Yeah. So, I mean, he breaks down like all of the statistics about that specific case, like how Ocean Spray's sales went through the roof. And then that Fleetwood Mac song like was back on the top 10 records. And like so many things happened because this guy posted like a 7-second video skateboarding that he almost didn't post.
Yeah.
And just the impact that you can have from sharing online. And so he calls it day trading attention because you're like, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to like fight for attention out there. And so what is it that will actually grab people's attention? And so it's basically a playbook for creating content.
I love that. Okay, I'm gonna listen to that. I'm like trying to think of what I mean. I've been all over the place. I've been kind of a little bit scattered. So I'm not listening to podcasts right now at all, but I really want to listen to Nathan Barry's podcast. So that's next on my list. I would say books. I mean, I did a whole episode on this. I don't know at this time if it has aired or not, but the book Brag Better by Meredith Feynman. I absolutely loved that book. I thought that it was so good. It talks about just basically not being afraid to brag about your accomplishments, and that really you are doing people a disservice by not talking about what you're an expert in. You're not only your content that you're an expert in, but also your achievements. Like if you want, and I feel like we have kind of sucked at this. Like we have 15 years and we like have won awards here and there and whatever. And like, we just like never made a big deal out of it. And I think it was kind of in the name of just being humble and just not wanting like, I mean, honestly, like I think no matter where you are in your business, even 15 years later, there's always a level of imposter syndrome of like, did I fully deserve this? Like, was I the right choice? And maybe there was some of that, or maybe we were just didn't know how to talk about it or what. But I just thought that it was just she has such a good perspective on that. And she talks about the qualified quiet and how many people out there are actually more qualified to speak on topics, but they are less comfortable about speaking about them. And
yes.
that the loud people are the ones that are getting all of the attention, even though the information might not be correct or the best information. And so I loved that. So that's a fantastic book. I definitely recommend it. I just reread $100 Million Offers. You know, you can't go wrong with there. I read also $100 Million Leads, which both are just like fantastic. So
I feel like Offers though is, for me, like hits harder.
It did. Yeah.
I really like them both. And Alex Hormozy's podcast is always like a lot of times they're short episodes and they're just like really hard hitting. Like it just gets like right to the point.
He talks so fast. He probably gets like all the information in. And, like,
have you listened to his podcast before?
I haven't. No.
Oh yeah. There's like a million episodes and they're very like pinpointed on a specific topic.
Yeah.
Like something he just kind of goes off on a rant on or whatever. And then just for like podcasts that are always in my loop, I love Jasmine Starr's podcast, and I think that her latest thing that she's been doing where she's bringing in a co-host is really fun because the co-host will help interview the guests and they actually help curate the guests that they bring on to interview together. So I've been listening to the series where Amy Porterfield is her podcast host, co-host with her. And I mean, they don't know this, but like they're my best friends. And they just do such a good job of making you feel like that.
I love them both. So
I love them both so much. And I mean, Amy has been a mentor. We've done her courses and we've been in her communities in the past and been to her in-person events. So, I mean, and we have like met and hung out at Craft and Commerce and stuff. So we're like actually besties.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. Get to listen to them.
I love it.
Yeah. I hope this gets back to them and they can be like, oh yeah, what's up, Fran?
Oh yeah, Fran.
What's up?
What's up, girl?
What's up, Fran?
What's up, Fran?
I'm like, what's up, Amy and Jazz?
Okay, next question.
Doesn't anybody call her?
Amy and Jazz. Are you asking the next
question?
question?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you.
You're choosing it.
Okay. Well, hang on a second. Let me get there. Do you miss paper and pen as much as I do? Not me.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm not the one asking the question.
Just the asker.
The asker must really miss paper and pen.
Okay. Well,
what is paper and pen, Nicole?
For those of you who don't know, Franny and I at one point had a 4,000 plus square foot high-end high-end shop in a shopping center, like in the Village of Meridian, that was full of teeny tiny little journals and gifts and wrapping paper and all
greeting cards,
all little teeny tiny things. And we managed a whole sea of early college and high school students, and we had to stay open until 9 p.m. every day.
So you're saying you really miss it?
Yeah, it's just
all of those things sound so envious and enviable. I don't know the word.
It was so fun to just like always have to restock like, $200,000 worth of merch.
It really was fun, actually.
We did like that part.
Like the shipments would show up every day, and our employees would be like, "Oh!" Like so excited to open the boxes and dig through it, and I'd be like, $7,000 fit in that tiny little box.
It's like when you get something from Amazon and you thought it was going to be bigger.
Yeah.
You're like, I.
Yeah, letterpress cards are really expensive.
They are.
And yeah, or it's like Christmas, your kids are just like tearing through the presents and throwing them off to the side. And you're like, hey,
Yeah.
that was like expensive. So no, the answer would be no. Hell no. We don't miss very many things about that.
Yeah. Okay. So on the flip side,
We don't
of that,
regret it, though.
We don't
Listen,
regret it.
yeah.
And it was really something that we are proud that we've done.
Yes.
I think that not only was it just visibly a very beautiful brand, people thought that it was a national brand because it was so well done. They're like, oh, I've been to one of these in California. We're like, we promise you haven't. And so I think that we did a really good job, curating it and creating, not only a beautiful space, but also a community of people that just really like loved us and supported us. And it was just,
There was a lot of fun creative moments that we had.
yeah.
Like
And
creating
so many,
okay, I do kind of miss creating like the window displays and stuff.
oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I actually enjoyed the merchandising aspect.
Yeah.
Like, I miss little tiny things about it. Kind of like how I miss parts of waiting tables.
Totally. But it's like, it was kind of it was about creating somebody's happy place, and there was something about that I think we were really proud of. And it was just very visibly beautiful. But on the flip side of it, it was a lot of work.
From a business perspective, there's not much to miss.
Yeah, it's true. But
it wasn't super profitable. Like, let's be real.
It wasn't.
The wedding invitations that we sold were bankrolling the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we would sell like a invitation suite for like $5,000, but we'd be selling like $300 or $400 a day in actual product.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a long time to move through that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the work that you and I are doing, and the employees were helping with like assembling the invitations and moving people through some of the processes. But as far as like all of the retail sales associates that we had to hire and managers and all of that, the store wasn't sustaining the payroll that we had. So,
Yeah, but it really did
was
teach us so much about running a brick and mortar business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now that we're in the position that we are doing, we are brand coaches, but so much of that, does kind of spill over into business coaching, and people just, really needing advice on how to generate more revenue, ideas, different things like that. And I think it puts us in a position where we can say like, you know what, like, I'm not an accountant, I'm not like a business coach, but I can tell you what worked for us. And I think that we've helped a lot of our clients because we've had that experience.
Totally.
And also,
that's a great way to look at it, Nicole.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think that it's such a qualifier.
Yeah.
For what we do now. So
yeah.
Anyways, I don't miss it, but I am proud of it.
Love it for sure.
Same. Okay. Next question. Okay, so I don't know, should we do this one about the advice for a marketing agency? We could kind of take a little bit of a stab at it. Okay, so we have a question that says, I need advice for a startup marketing agency in a small mountain town with tons of opportunities. And then a cowboy hat emoji and a celebration emoji. And so we don't have a lot of context for this, so I'm not entirely sure.
I'm going to go to her account.
Okay, let's see if we can kind of figure it out. So it's like, I don't really know like what her background is in marketing or what, but as far as like small mountain town, I would just say right off the bat, almost like brand coach yourself. Like, who are these people? Like, what are their pain points? How do they like to be spoken to? What types of brands are they loyal to? And just like really get in tune with who these people are. And that will put you in tune with what their needs are. And if I don't know how familiar you are with these people or how much you know about them, but, asking, like, I even now, I mean, I've coached so many different brands, and I still will take my ideal customer to lunch. And I actually had coffee with one of them yesterday, and just pick their brain, ask them what they're currently struggling with, what would be the most helpful for them, what types of services are they doing, what's their current marketing budget, like these types of things that, you can just have coffee with a friend and just figure out what their pain points are. And I think that informs your decisions so much. And so really no matter where you're starting a business or what type of business it is, but especially marketing, you understanding what type of marketing these people are attracted to. Like, are you going to be doing social media marketing, or is a small town more like, are they like more of like a bulletin board, tear off the phone number type marketing?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think they're still using social media in the mountains.
Oh, totally.
Well,
but
I mean, just advice for, I didn't gather like a ton from her Instagram. It looks like she's an artist, and so definitely like more of a creative type. And so what I'm guessing is questions about kind of logistics of starting up that business and like maybe what our advice would be for that, someone like that. And so my advice would be, if you don't already have a business partner or another person, to bring in an integrator, so that you can be a visionary if you're an artist. If you're the kind of the creative like person behind the marketing agency, because as an agency, I'm assuming that the plan is to grow a team. Like, there's not a whole lot of like one-man agencies out there unless you're outsourcing things, or maybe you have a VA or something like that. But creating systems and that's so hard to say. Systems and processes from the beginning that can help you automate some stuff, or have someone that's kind of in that seat. As you know, we use EOS language, so integrator, or like an operations person, or a logistical kind of like somebody to organize things for you. I would definitely, in the startup stage, start with that from the beginning, instead of trying to like do everything and then take out pieces and parts of it later. That gets pretty messy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you are interested in just understanding that whole visionary integrator language, we would recommend picking up from the Traction library, the EOS library. Traction,
Rocket Fuel?
I think Traction maybe is the first one that they should read. That I think that the order, look up the order, because there's Traction, then there's Rocket Fuel that specifically talks about just the visionary integrator relationship. But then there's also like, what the heck is EOS, which might even be a good spot to start, just to see if, you know, the general baseline is something that you feel like you could grasp. We read Traction first, and actually it was a really hard concept for me to grasp. I had to kind of imagine it a few times before I could picture us working it in.
I don't know. I kind of actually like reading Rocket Fuel first.
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
I think I read Rocket Fuel first.
Kind of dive into the concepts in Traction, but it's like really helping you figure out which person you are. Mm-hmm. It has like a assessment that you do, and it explains like the traits and the responsibilities of each person, and like why certain personalities are so good for the different roles. Mm-hmm. And I think it is really eye-opening. Mm-hmm. I think whether you're going to run on EOS or not, those books, you'll take something from them that you'll implement into your business, like into your systems. So even if you aren't going to fully run on EOS, maybe you just do L10 meetings, or you just do rock setting, or you at least do the accountability chart and structure it with a visionary integrator and then department heads. I think it's, for a startup, that would be my biggest advice, to kind of like do that research.
Could you imagine doing that from the beginning?
That would be so nice.
It's
we could go back, and if I could like Back to the Future, you know, like where he like goes and takes the book to like find out like what sports to bet on.
Yeah.
I would just like take back all EOS and be like, here.
Yeah.
Just start with this.
Yeah. And then you don't have to unlearn all your bad habits.
We would have a very different business right now.
You're documenting all your processes from the start instead of trying to like backtrack and figure out what we
might actually still be doing what we started.
Oh.
Who knows? Which is basically what we're doing.
I'm like, I don't know.
We're kind of back to square one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Cool. Somebody said, how do I get a job? LOLZ. Lols.
Well,
first you have to pass the culture index.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, I don't know, you apply and you like impress us.
Yeah. You have to apply with
be cool.
all of your skills. Let us know. Uncheck skills.
Okay, I'm not going to really spend time on that. Okay, next is, how would you each describe your personal style, or describe each other's personal style? Should we describe each other?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, that's hard.
Okay, I'll think about it too.
Okay, so the look of Franny has really taken many forms over the years, as have mine. That's the problem when you've been together so long. Is it's like, well,
No,
like
current.
I mean, there was like
Let's go with
there
current.
was a real moment there where I don't think I
Yeah,
was
but that
doing
was just
well.
like everybody's personal style was bad.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We've gone through like actual generations together.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, how would I describe your personal style? I don't know. How would you describe your personal style?
Well, I feel like I have a couple of different, and I think this is normal for most people. Like you have a couple of different personalities when it comes to
Yeah.
your style, like depending on the setting. But when I feel the most like myself or the most comfortable, well, I'm like literally in comfortable clothing. Like I don't really like tight constraining clothes. Like I don't like wearing, I don't know, like slacks and stuff that are like really tight, or even like jeans that are like way too like, even though they like look better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I like to be like, this is how I sit. Like I sit like a gargoyle or I like straddle chairs and I move around a lot and I have to like, I don't know, I'm very like fidgety. And so I need to be able to move physically. So I don't know. I feel like that kind of like informs my style. And so I love a good like t-shirt and jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm on the verge of like tomboy and then like teenage whore.
Wow. I was gonna say for you, I'm like, how would I describe your style? And I was saying that there is a little bit of a, like when I was thinking, there is a little bit of like a masculine undertone in the way, like even though you choose like really flattering feminine looks, there's like a menswear undertone that I think you
Perfect. That's
you
totally
really
what
like.
I'm going for.
Is it?
Yeah, like when I go to like Pinterest, I'm like pinning like style.
Uh-huh.
I am really drawn to like the androgynous style. Like I love the kind of like vintage tees and the like the big boyfriend blazers and stuff like that. But then if I were to actually put on that exact outfit, I feel like I just look like frumpadump. So I end up, because of like my torso and my legs, like the way that my body is, that I end up feminizing it a little bit. Like I like doing like a crop top or something instead of like the big long baggy tee.
Yeah.
Style, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me just cut that in half.
Totally.
You know? And so, yeah, but I don't actually like shop in the men's department.
Right. No.
But I like that. I like wish I could. Like I love men's style
because
more.
you're definitely feminine, but like there's just kind of like an undertone,
a whisper of masculinity.
Yeah. As far as me, I don't know. I feel like I am like a style schizophrenic. But
no, let me try it. Let me do you.
You want to try?
Yeah. Like, well, what you're wearing right now is like the most Nicole thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I have stuff that I'm like, oh my God, this is like such a Nicole shirt. And have you heard the term of like dopamine decor, dopamine dressing?
Yeah, I think that's
you.
Yeah.
It's like very like the contrast of the colors and like the fun combinations and bold. Like you do a lot of the warmer colors like pinks and reds and oranges and stuff, and color blocking or stuff like that. You don't really have a lot of clothes that have like just a brand or like a graphic on them necessarily. More like a solid color or a pattern, like a print. You're like a Anthropologie catalog mixed with like Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
And it's awesome. But like the thing is, like, for something about your style, like you can be like, oh yeah, I got this at like Marshall's or whatever.
Yeah.
And you like always like make it look elevated and like expensive.
Oh, thanks.
Where when I do that, I look like a Marshall's mannequin.
Oh gosh, whatever.
Yeah. So I end up spending like ridiculous amounts of money on like a white t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like we used to go to I love how we always try to find a Nordstrom rack in like every city that we go to,
because they're always different. In every city they're always different.
They're way different than what we have. They have different brands and stuff than what we get here. And we'll go and we'll be like, all right, we kind of like challenge each other. We're like, okay, if we have $200 to spend, like what would we get? And Nicole, you'll come back with like a cart full of like 1,000 things. And I'll have like 4 things.
I don't know if that's a braggy thing for me though. I'm like, I can find a good deal, but I probably own way too many things.
But you know how to like find the good stuff in those racks, and I like won't even like try.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like just going to the
my
end caps.
upbringing. Yeah.
I just go to the end caps. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a fun question. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
But yesterday I wore heels, like my one pair of heels that I own, and I kind of felt like a boss. I was like,
Yeah.
every once in a while you got to just like put
Yeah.
on the stiletto.
I do wear heels a lot, but I also like to be comfortable. So like I usually do like heeled boots or like heeled like sandals or something, like mules. I wear mules a lot. Like
Yeah, I don't own a pair of mules.
yeah,
like at
that's
all.
my jam. Like cuz they're comfortable. You slip them on.
Yeah, I like a
They
good
got
sneaker.
Some height. Yeah. I'm into the height. I got to trick everyone cuz I'm not that tall. Okay. Is it your turn or mine?
It's
Mine.
your turn.
Okay. How do you balance business and motherhood?
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody asks that question. And then it's the classic response of like, how nobody asks men this question. Nobody's ever asked my husband this question. No,
Which is
it
funny
a good
because
question, 'cause
our men do a lot.
they're pretty
And
much
so they
the
probably should be
moms.
asked that
They should
question.
be. How do they balance it?
How do they balance it all?
I don't know. Yeah. So for me, I love this question because, I mean, I don't feel like it's ever really balanced. It's not really like a balancing act, actually. If it was, I don't know, something would be like way up here and the other would be way down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shifts back and forth. But like, I was raised by a woman who worked really hard and built a career and like crushed it and pretty much broke every glass ceiling that you could, and like in a male dominated industry at the time. Now it's very female dominated in the real estate industry, but she was such a cool example of a mom that could work really hard and have career goals, but then also not have to compromise being a good mom and like being there for everything. So she was still at like every important, like oversight, like not like the little things necessarily like every single day. So she wasn't like volunteering in the classroom all, like my whole life or anything like that. But she was at the recitals and the sports things and the award ceremonies, and she still is like, she's still a hardworking, crazy, like working person, but is there for all the grandkids stuff and very involved, and you never feel neglected or like she's choosing work over you. It's like you respect seeing your mom like hustle. And so that's just never really been like a point of guilt for me. I've never felt like I should feel guilty for working.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a major testament to like the way that we're raised and how, and I know you were raised with like a working mom too.
Yeah.
And
Single
a
working
little
mom.
different circumstances. But I think it has a lot to do with how both of us were able to like, I mean, we had our business while we had our baby, like while we were pregnant.
Our business is as old as Carter.
Yeah.
Franny's oldest.
Yep.
So like
We started it when he was just a baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then have since together birthed three more.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, back to paper and pen, I remember when I had Benson, my oldest, 9 years ago. And I like had to bring him in sometimes. Like I wore like a Tula baby carrier, and like I just wore him, and like I would check out customers and assemble invitations. And
Okay, wait. My favorite memory is when we went to New York for the stationery show, a national stationery show.
Yeah.
And you brought Benson.
Uh-huh.
How old was he?
He was maybe like
6
4
months old?
months.
Okay.
6
Yeah.
months. Yeah.
And like, what were we thinking?
Oh yeah, we had a stroller. He was the only baby in New York City. Like no one brings their kids out there. Like everyone was acting like he was like a freak,
Celebrity.
like a celebrity. What, you brought your baby here? Like,
You're,
is that a
like, we're like
baby?
on the subway,
Oh my gosh!
like chucking the stroller over the turnstiles to get on the subway, and you're like trying to breastfeed and stuff.
Dude, I breastfed him like walking down the streets of New York,
Yeah.
like strapped. Like that's just what it is. It's like, and I think that we can't say all of this stuff without our support system. My mom would bring him to the store for me. Like my mom actually took like part-time. She's a school teacher now, and so she went part-time so that way she could watch him on certain days. That way I could take my shifts at the store. And then with Everett, my second, he's always been in daycare, and Benson never was. And so it's just, I think that a lot of it has to do with just the season that you're in, like, your financial situation, like how like what you're comfortable with, I think is a huge thing too at that time. And honestly, Franny and I have the best husbands, and we like, there's no way, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. There's no way that we could do this without them. Like my husband drives my kids 30 minutes both ways to school twice a day. And I mean, 80% of the time. And he's the one that's checking all the emails, and he's the one that's, you know, talking to the teachers. And I know Chris does so much too. And like, really, it just goes back to like having a really good partnership. You know, not only just, you know, me and Franny have a really good partnership, but like we have to have partners that we have to have our husbands buy in on, you know, on the big decisions that we make. And we have to be looking at, you know, our, well, I mean,
most of them,
but like, I mean, really,
No, I'm
like,
just kidding.
like a respect, like a mutual respect. I think that my marriage is working better now that I am looking at it more as a partnership, and like really making sure that we, you know, we're communicating well and that I'm pulling my weight.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's story and circumstances are so different. And so there is no like way to do it. There's no like piece of advice really.
Yeah.
I can just speak to the way that I feel. And I mean, of course, like there's, when you're thinking about decisions about like putting your kid into daycare or something, and you're like, oh, am I going to miss out on stuff or whatever? And I know a lot of moms really struggle with that. And like they want to be home with their babies. They want to be home with when they're through their toddler years. And like documenting every step and every first word and like all of that stuff, which is, you know, it's important, and it's like, it's so fleeting. And also it's more, for me, it's more about the big picture. Like, like, are you there? Not literally every second, but like, are you there for them? And are you providing them a loving home and everything that they need, and all of the nurturing that it requires to like be a good parent?
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily, for me, mean that I have to be with them every second.
Right. But I mean, honestly, to just piggyback onto that idea, it's not that you're there every second, it's that you're present when you're there.
Right.
And I think that is the biggest thing that I've learned, because I think that there was times where I thought I had to be physically there to be a good mom. But I was on my phone, and I was on my computer, and I was trying to work, and I was mad at my baby that wanted attention. And, you know, and that's just,
that does create some guilt sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you realize it later.
But like with Everett, I mean, my second time around, it's like he was always in daycare. I had dedicated work time. And so, you know, Benson got a better mom with that too, because he was in school. And then you know, they would come home and I could be present, and I could pay attention to them and talk to them. And I wasn't wondering about, you know, if I finished the thing. I mean, every now and then we always have our days, but I think that's a huge thing. And just a little bit about my background. I was raised by a single mom. And she's very young too. And she was going to college and also working as a hairdresser in my like early years. And then became a school teacher. And so, I mean, really this was like the early 90s. So we were home alone a lot. You know, that's just what everyone.
We were latchkey.
We were latchkey kids. It's like we're riding our bike barefoot to Albertsons. We just did what we want. But ultimately, I was with my grandparents a lot, and I was with other family members, and we had close friends that I was just kind of like,
it takes a village.
I was like another kid at their dinner table every now and then. And honestly, when I look back, I don't feel like my mom was absent. And so like as an adult, I feel like my mom was very present and very there and very like hands-on with me, and a very good mom. And she, like, looking back, I'm actually wondering how much she was there. But she made me feel like she was always there.
Right. I think that's a huge thing for moms listening that have little ones or that want to start families but still have dreams of working, that you can still have like a good lasting impact on your kids without
and there's no right way to do it. I mean, in my opinion, I think that really, like, if you do decide to take a hiatus, or you decide to start your business after your kids are out of the house, you know, in kindergarten or whatever it is, that's not wrong either. And like, it looks like however you need it to look for your family. And really, I mean, there's always that feeling of missing out. Like, I don't even know what's that quote? Like, it's not too late. Like, you're not like, now, like, you can start whenever the day you start is. Like,
Yeah.
you're not, the world isn't moving past you. Like,
Yeah.
and so, so anyways, just give yourself permission to do what feels right for your family.
I really like this conversation. It could be its own episode.
I know.
Like,
we didn't even know we were going to talk about this. We never talk about this.
No, we don't. And so I don't know, a couple things are coming to mind for me. Some of the little things that I do. So it looks a little different at my house. Like my kids see me working a lot. Like I'm on my phone and my computer a lot and in front of them. And I've had that thought before. I've journaled on it. I've talked about it with Chris and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I respect, there are some people who say like, when I'm home, the computer's away. Like I save that for my work time or whatever. And in front of my kids, I try to not do that. And I'm like, well, that's not realistic for me.
It's not for me
My
either.
work happens a lot of times at night. I really enjoy working at night, and that's like my most creative time. And so my kids know, and my husband all know that if I'm in my office at my desk, especially if I have my headphones on, that it's like I'm unavailable. Like I might as well be at the office. And not unavailable. Like obviously if they need something, like I'm there. But it's not, I'm not just like hanging out. Like they won't come up and just ask me for something random or like tell me a story. You know, they're old enough now. They're not toddlers. So of course that's a very different situation, which is where like you can't even go to the bathroom without your kids following you around.
Yeah.
But now my kids are like they'll like, even Carter will come, he's 15. And sometimes if he really does need to ask me something, he'll come up and be like, are you writing an email? Because if I'm like, in the middle of like flow,
dude,
and somebody like is like, do you know where the scissors are? I'm like,
yeah.
Die now.
Yeah.
Go away. But they do know that. But then there's a few things that I do very intentionally to kind of like offset that and then make sure that they know that I'm, I don't know, there for them and like value them.
Right.
And one of those things that I always talk about is when they get home, like when they get home from school, if I'm at home working and I see them walking up the front porch, even if I'm on a call or like on a Zoom call or something like that, I will like get overly excited. Like even if I can't actually go give them a big hug or something, usually I'll like actually put my stuff down. I'll run to the door. It's like the dog, like I'm like as excited as the dog to see them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, how was your day? I love you. Like big hugs and kisses and stuff. And then it's like, okay, well, I have more work to do. So go do your homework and whatever. And so I think that that's been something for me that feels special, even if it's like a quick moment, is that right when you get home, like being excited to see them. And I know for me, like when I get somewhere, if people are just like, oh, hey, you're here again, you're kind of just like, oh.
Yeah. No, that's a big
sucks.
one. And I think Brendan Burchard talks about that too. Like how
he talks about, I don't know if he talks about that specifically. He might in High Performance Habits.
Yeah.
One of the things that he talks about is the kind of that segue of like before you walk in, when coming home from work,
like reframing before you walk in. I was thinking
and I do try to catch myself at that too, which a lot of times I'll be sitting in my car for a few minutes and I'll wrap up the email or I'll wrap up like responding to some DMs or something before I walk into the house, so that I'm not bringing the work in with me. It's like it'll either be finish it in the car, come in, have a few minutes of family time and excited to see you, and then I have to go do some more work and then go back to my office. But not like you don't want to walk in still looking at your phone and trying to finish something that you like brought with you from the office.
I do that too.
I think it's more wrapping something up, being like, okay, now I'm like moving from this space into this space, and how do I want to show up in that new space?
Yes.
And intentionally doing that.
Yes. Thank you for your memory on that.
Yeah. That's like probably my biggest takeaway from that book.
Yeah.
And I do
really
it.
Good.
I do it before I go into meetings. I do it before I go into networking events. Like I'll sit in my car for a minute and be like, okay, I'm moving from, I was probably driving and Marco Poloing with someone about some other issue or whatever, like telling me a story about something. And then I'm about to walk into like the Boise Breakfast Club and go see all these business owners. And I'm like, okay, regroup. How do I want to show up for this? What are my goals? Like, who do I want to make sure I talk to? What type of impact do I want to have? And like, what do I want to be, I don't want to walk in all flustered from the conversation I was having in the car.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that's a big takeaway for just parenting and even marriage, you know, just making sure that we are being, and just to reframe, when I said when you're there, you're present, I don't mean when I'm physically always there. I'm like captivated on my kids.
Yeah.
Like it's more of if we're having family time, we're there.
Yeah.
Like that's like it's the dedicated time and space. I mean, obviously I'm not like,
Never
I'm not
working
like
at home.
ever I'm never not working at home.
We both have home offices.
Yeah,
we
we
work from
do.
home a lot.
And so,
Yeah.
and there's always, I have kind of a similar thing to Franny. I'm not a night owl. I kind of like start like drifting in the afternoon. So my special time is like 5 a.m. while Franny's is late. So I work less at night, but there that happens a lot. And, similar thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that all the questions that we were going to answer?
I think so. I mean, this turned out to be like a parenting episode. Who knew? Okay, there is one more that I think is good. Okay, what ways have you found to best network with other owners to gain exposure? Like other business owners.
Well, the goal isn't usually exposure. It's more like really, I don't know. I don't really think about it that way, I guess. But I guess if that's the goal, is to get more exposure, to get in front of other people's audiences, then we do some things like that. Like guesting on other people's podcasts is probably the best one. And a lot of times, since we need podcast episodes for our podcast too, we'll do like a swapsy thing where we'll either do 2 interviews and interview them back and forth. So we're exposing them to our audience and vice versa, or we'll just post the same episode to both podcasts if it makes sense. And then also doing collaborative like Instagram posts and things like, when we have a client who we're going to make a post about their photo shoot, I'll try to like write the copy in the caption so that it makes sense for them to be posting it as themselves as well. So it's not just like, look at this photo shoot we did. It'll be a little bit more like, did you know the story of this brand or something about them, so that it feels appropriate for them to post as well. So they're more likely to accept the collaboration. And those are a couple ways to kind of like actually get in front of other people's audiences when you're networking. But I mean, it's not really like a networking thing. It's more like, I guess it kind of is. But I don't know, when we're at networking events or at conferences or anything like that, really, for me, the goal is find people who have like an interesting story, because I want to have conversations that are actually interesting. So I'm really curious. And so I like to just really connect with people a little bit deeper. And I try to like, every time I go to like a networking event or a conference or something, I try to have 2 to 3 deeper, more meaningful conversations at that thing. Like every single one, not 15 surface level mini, like small talk conversations. And so I don't know about you, but like I would rather find one person and stand in a corner and talk to them the whole time, like a new person that I've never met, than go do the like little side hug. Oh my God, how have you been? We should get coffee sometime with 20 people. Even though I still have to do that part too. But it's like, no, like let's go deep with a couple people that are interesting.
Yeah, I love that answer. I'm kind of reading this a couple different ways too. So what ways have you found to best network? So like, I'm also reading that as like, how do you find networks of other business owners? So I would say, just make yourself social, like try to figure out what's happening, who are the types of people that you want to meet, where are they hanging out, what types of events are they going to. I'm sure wherever you're located, especially if you're in Boise, you can hit us up. We know a bunch of different places that, there's specific women's networking. There are, if you're in a genre, I know that there's like religious women in business, or there's, marketing, digital marketing groups, or, what is your niche of people that you want to be in?
Your way into the party a little bit.
Yeah, you have to kind of inch your way in. Another way is to be social on the internet. Like figure out, how you can make connections on Instagram or on Facebook or LinkedIn, or however else wherever you are hanging out. How are we connecting with people? How are we showing up? Are we acting like a bot? I just signed up for LinkedIn. I mean, I've been active on LinkedIn lately, and I'm just like, I get all these bots in my in my DMs, I'm like, I would talk to you if you like actually asked questions I could answer and like weren't being weird, you know? And
You
it's
just
like,
have the bot reply to the
it's just
bot,
like, I
and
just
now there's just
ignore
like
it.
these like robot conversations happening
Yeah,
between
it's
themselves.
just like show up authentically. Like every
Mhm.
interaction in any form is branding. How are you showing up for your business, for your brand? Are you, I mean, this is tough for me because our brand is very extroverted, and personally, I tend to like, I'm more of a conversation avoider. Like I'm the guy in the grocery store. Like if I know the person, I like dodge the aisle. I just like, I don't like small talk, and I don't, you know, so it really does
I don't
take,
think that many people like
I don't
those things.
I don't think so either. But I mean, for me, I have to
Mhm.
just kind of put myself in that headspace of like, okay, how am I showing up? Who am I showing up? What impact am I having?
Mhm.
Like, is this a good representation of my brand?
Mhm.
And sometimes that is getting outside of my comfort zone. We just went to Craft and Commerce, and Courtney was like, "You're being so social." I was like, "I don't know. Well, the first year I came here, I had to get on a stage, and so this seems easier than that.
Yeah.
To just make friends, you know." But you kind of just have to get into that headspace of like, how are you showing up, and
Mhm.
what parties are you inviting yourself to?
Yeah. I mean, and then the hardest thing to do sometimes is to just like actually just listen. Just let other people talk, like listen to you know, ask them what their goals are and like what they're trying to build, and they'll just go, and they love sharing that. And I love to just kind of let people go off and then let them ask you questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of can drive that. But yeah, I think finding the places to network, yeah, exactly what you said. There's always try to find the niche where you fit in, like where
Mhm.
you not where you fit in, like you don't want to like just fit in, but you want to like
You
find
want
the
to
people that you're
maximize.
comfortable around. Like there are some, like I guess networking opportunities or places or groups of people that I always feel a little like, this isn't really like my space. Like
Mm-hmm.
it depends on really what your goals are, and not in like a selfish way. Like you want to find people that can help you reach your goals, but you do want to surround yourself by people that are thinking bigger or like are like-minded in certain ways or that have the same values as you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's once you find that, like go deep with those people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And find yourself business owner friends that are not gatekeepers. I think we've been really fortunate, especially back in like the wedding days, like making friends with our competitors and just kind of going in as like, hey, we're all just trying to do this, like, and
Mhm.
being transparent about what we're doing and letting people feel comfortable that they can be transparent with us.
Yeah.
Because I think that it is, I mean, even though we're lucky enough that we have a partnership that we can talk things out with and, you know, with each other and like come to ideas and, you know, two different brains thinking two different ways. It is still isolating. We get
Mhm.
in our own like little, you know, hot box, for lack of a better word. I'm like, there's a better word for that.
Yeah.
Or a hot box.
Right.
Or like,
well, we're so close to it, and
or,
it's
yeah,
nice to
echo
have
chamber.
like
It's
people
just,
that can see things from a different perspective for you and bounce ideas back and forth. And we have like our friends that we really trust to be able to talk things out about business, like even when it comes to finances or team stuff or whatever. Like, yeah, I think having your people that are kind of in the same boat, but maybe in a different industry even or something like that is
yeah.
really helpful. All right, cool. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was
Let's get
fun.
some more questions. Those were very random all over the board.
They were.
So there's no theme to this episode.
Yeah, I think that's what we got today.
That's a wrap.